Wow. Right? I mean, we had it was an amazing 2 days, and look at all of the stuff. And where do we go from here? I heard we got to keep this going, or somebody has to keep this going, or maybe it's not part of our day job, or some of those sorts of sentiments expressed. So just real quickly, just so that everybody knows where we are going from here at the in the grant area. So remember, this is a federally funded grant that has deliverables associated with it and some timelines. So we have to do some housekeeping things for our federal partners. So we have to finalize our report, and thank you very much. You have all been part of that. You have all provided us some input into that final report. You have helped develop the interoperability plan and roadmap, even if you didn't know it. That's what you were doing here for the last 2 days. We have to submit those final deliverables to the Administration for Children and Families. When we do that, we will share that with Secretary Dooley and the Undersecretary Mike Wilkening, and the directors of all of the departments in Health and Human Services Agency, and probably the chief deputy directors as well, just to be able to make sure that we get that communication out there. We will also share it with the other 6 states who were awarded grants to do this kind of work as well. And that road goes both ways. They will share with us what they have done, and what they have done is not the same thing that we have done. So one other state was looking at governance, and that's Illinois. If you imagine in your mind a continuum of starting at the very, very beginning of an interoperability effort, and then on the if that's on the left, and then on the right is nirvana. We've hit interoperability. Illinois was to the left of California, so they started with they started putting together a charter for how interoperability would happen. So very much a governance process. And by the way, their governance process looks very similar to our governance process. But they, what they wanted to do was kind of get all of the directors of their agencies on board and sign that charter, and in their minds that would be enough to keep them going. Yes, do you agree? No. So where we started was where we were at the time, and if we need to go back and do that step, then we can always go back and do that step. But because we started where we are, we're a little bit ahead of them. Colorado did not necessarily work on a governance process for their grant, but they did. They did do something that puts them at the very, I'm sorry, not Colorado, Oklahoma. They started at that very leftmost point on the continuum, so they put together a bunch of white papers, right? So they were making the case for interoperability. And so if you're getting the picture that, there's a lot of different points on the spectrum were approached by these different states in what they wanted to do with their grants, then you're right. And guess what? We get to use all those things. So there will be white papers available for us. We didn't have to write them. There will be charters available for governance groups. We didn't have to write them. There will be our own governance group structure, which we did write. There will be some IT infrastructural kinds of things that other states did that we didn't have to write. So we get to share all of these things that they did, and we will share all of what we did with all of them. We will also continue the collaboration site and promote the collaborative efforts. How many people have actually looked at the collaboration site? Show of hands. Okay, good. So that'll be still out there. And through that collaboration site, I think if you notice the name on that, it is community of practice. It's a community of practice. That's something that doesn't require an office. It doesn't require a formal structure. It just requires you to go look at it and participate. It's where we can continue this work. Hopefully at some point we'll be able to add centers of excellence, so people that are active in the community of practice that are doing things that they want to share and people can take and use, then it becomes a center of excellence. So we're going to add a role for, well, we've already talked about interoperability in the new system effort. And Laura typed this all out for me. Thank you, Laura. And I edited it because I just do that. One of the things she said here is identify resources to work on activities for the first 6 months. And I edited it to say begin work on the activities for the first 6 months. You are the resources. You have already helped in this effort, and we're not. It's not that we're disbanding the group. And no, Carrie, I'm not sure about the jackets. I don't know if we need T-shirts. But we are the forces for interoperability in the state. So I'm certain that we will continue this work, and we will actually, through the Office of the Agency Information Officer at Health and Human Services Agency, we will actually begin work for on the activities for the next 6 months of the roadmap for IT, legal, organizational change management, and governance. So those things will get started. We will be looking for opportunities for money. If there's something that we can purloin, we will try and do it. We will look for other ways to characterize funding. There are some potential resources available through the federal innovation initiatives. So we'll be looking for that. And there's in January, there's something coming up called a Big Data Conference. And I don't know exactly what the name of it is, but it is, for those of you in IT, you'll recognize big data. It's all the big buzz. Essentially, for decades, we've been collecting data in government. Well, we got a mountain of it. What do you do with it? So there are tons of vendors out there that want to help us sort through all of that, make some sense out of that, do some analytics around that, figure out how to use those data, even if we don't know right this second what we would do with it. They're poised and ready to show us what we could do with it. So there's this conference coming up for big data, and I don't know if many of you know about something that happens on the East Coast on an annual basis, usually in late May, called a Data Palooza. And fun name, but what it is essentially is, what do you do with all of the data in government? And so there's an educational component around that conference, and then there's also a competition that is around that conference. So people who want to enter the competition can compete for real prize money, thousands of dollars, to do something with publicly available data. So that might be writing an application around a couple of data sets. It might be figuring out how to string those together in a dynamic way that somebody like Barbara Nadell could then use later without too much effort, or one of her grad students could use that. But it's essentially incentivizing people to help us figure out what to do with our data without a lot of money. So I was wondering, well, why don't we do one of those out here? So we're going to in January. And there was one that I think happened in the Bay Area in about June or July. And it seemed to be a little closed. I don't know exactly how many people got that invitation, but this one's going to be a little bit larger. We will. We're hoping to have a competition. We're hoping that all of you in IT who have people who would want to enter that competition, help your people enter it. How many? I don't know how many of you. I know I've personally experienced this. Where somebody thinks I'm the biggest idiot in the world and I could do that better. Well, now's your chance, right? So, so help those people get out there and enter that competition and get on the map with something that might be a better way to do something. So that's some of the things that are coming up. Well. We would also like to know how best to keep in touch with you. I heard more than once today that communication has to improve. And so please let us know how best to keep in touch with all of you. And also, please consider how you will want to be involved going forward. And we will certainly try and reconvene in this kind of a group again. But I'm not sure, when that's going to happen. Who wants to serve on the governance subcommittee? Who wants to assist with organizational change management or legal or the enterprise architecture group? there will be lots of opportunities. So, what a productive couple of days. And I don't know, do you guys all get the sense that we're working wonders here? I mean, look at what we have been able to do with nothing, really. I mean, we had some federal grant money, but look at what we've been able to do with that. So remember back to yesterday morning, and I suggested that we are reaching beyond our grasp. We have been demonstrating all of those things that make us wildly successful. Don't let that stop. Don't stop reaching beyond our grasp. Don't stop making this personal. You must not let this die. And it actually lives with all of us. It rests with all of us. We have to find each other. We have to find ways to stay in touch with each other and to find opportunities for each other to continue this work. Insist on progress. Don't make space for failure. You know, the fact that we don't have an office of something or we don't have a vision from the secretary is not an excuse to not make progress. We can make progress towards that and so much more. Keep energizing people. Look for those people who self-select for this kind of work. You know, those are the folks who have something personal that they want to be involved, and they will always find a way to be associated with it. And be sure to recognize them. And you know, we've heard a lot about vision, and vision is important. I mean, I don't want to suggest it's not important, but don't let the lack of a formal, articulated vision get in the way of progress. Because looking around here at what we've been able to do the last couple of days and over the summer and over 2 symposia, I think is a testament to what we can do even without a formal, articulated vision. Yes, we'll get there. We will move toward a formalized vision and leadership, but don't let that get in the way of progress. So keeping the initiative alive is within all of us. And you know, something that Ivy Poole brought up, you know, from New York this morning. This is still the Wild West. You know, we're still a startup. We still have flexibility now to do things that we won't have later when we have a structure around it, right? So let's capitalize on that. This is the time to get stuff done because we're, you know, it's not formal. We can do stuff that we never dreamed. I mean, again, look at what we've been able to get done already. So let's kind of rejoice in the Wild Westness of it and get done what we can. And then lastly, I'd like to you know, give a couple shout-outs and thank yous. Thanks to the AOC for letting us have this space. And this was great, and you guys were really very generous to let us use this space. Thank you also to the State Systems Interoperability and Integration Project team. I know there's a lot of you out there. There's you know, there's the state staff, Laura, Val, everybody on the acquisitions team, Alexan, Stewards of Change. And finally, thank you to the Office of the Agency Information Officer, Gretchen, John. You guys are great. And all of that governance work was really kind of your vision there. And we wouldn't be here at all if you hadn't started this work. So with that,